Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to begin a new unit on imperialism. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is take out your note packet so that you can fill in the blanks on your notes. Title slide, U.S. Interactions with the World. At this point, I'd like you to pause and record down our learning targets for this section. Remember, at the end of the period, you should be able to watch this video and confidently say, I can do the following. So pause this video and record your learning targets. Thank you. Moving on. Expansionist moods. Until late 1800s, Americans followed George Washington's advice from his farewell address to steer clear of permanent alliances. The U.S. generally followed a policy of isolationism, or avoiding involvement with other countries' affairs. While other countries in Europe began to follow a policy of imperialism or building empires by imposing political and economic control over peoples around the world. As you can see, this map, although it's not related to the U.S., shows the division of Africa by U.S. powers during the imperialism age. Reasons for foreign involvement. At the turn of the century, many Americans were ethnocentric. Ethnocentric is believing that one's own ethnic group, racial or cultural group, is superior to others. Racism was also very prevalent still at this time, as you could see with this was the post-Civil War era. So there was the Jim Crow laws in the South, and this ethnocentric beliefs spread across the world as well. This racism and ethnocentrism fit into a growing theory called the white man's burden. European nations were scrambling to claim colonies in Africa and Asia. They believed it was the white man's burden to bring Western civilization to less developed regions, and that a colonial expansion was a status symbol of a great power. Religion was also a factor, as Christian missionaries went to Asia and the Pacific to find converts. In 1885, Reverend Josiah Strong claims it was the U.S.'s divine mission to spread democracy, liberty, and Christianity to less civilized people. I want you to take a moment, pause this video probably, and think of what that less civilized people might mean to you or to people at the time. What kind of people might be considered less civilized? Additionally, take a moment, pause this video, and analyze this graphic. Tomorrow when we do our activity reading a picture, I would like you to talk about this picture with your classmates. Improved technology was also a big reason why imperialism became more common during this time. Technology continued to improve machinery, means of transportation, and methods of communication. Improvements in transportation and communication accelerated America's involvement in world affairs with steam-powered ships, which were much faster and safer. These could travel upstream now, which made things a lot more convenient as well. The United States also became linked with other parts of the world by underwater cables to transmit telegraphs. Technological improvements in industry increased production and sped up the need for more foreign markets. Going back, sorry about that. The first effort of expansion made by the U.S. during this time was the acquisition of Alaska. President Lincoln's Secretary of State, William Seward, a Union College alumni, wanted an American empire that included Canada, Cuba, Central America, Hawaii, Iceland, and Greenland. In 1867, Alaska was a Russian colony, but they offered to sell it to the U.S. Seward saw Alaska as a stepping stone for trade with Asia and the Pacific based on location. Alaska is twice the size of Texas in the United States. Purchased it for $7.2 million or about 2 cents per acre. I know I don't have $7.2 million laying around, but that's not that much for a country the size of the U.S., and 2 cents per acre was a steal. It increased the size of the U.S. by 20%, so that was rather significant. Many Americans actually opposed the acquisition of Alaska, and they called it Seward's Folly or Seward's Icebox because they viewed Alaska kind of just as a block of ice with no real value. People changed their mind though once they found gold there and eventually oil as well. On the next slide, you can see the size of Alaska to scale to the United States. From Barrow to Juneau, it's 1,100 air miles, which is the same distance as New York to Orlando. So I think that does a good job of showing how much of land the United States acquired with the acquisition of Alaska. As you can see, Alaska is also twice the size of Texas, like we mentioned in the previous slide. This is just a political cartoon made by Thomas Nast, as we've talked about in the past. This is just making fun of Alaska. It's being called Russian America. It's just a chunk of ice. The next effort made by the United States was the annexation of Hawaii. Missionaries from the U.S. had gone to Hawaii starting in the early 1800s. American sugarcane growers began to dominate the island. In 1893, American settlers overthrew Queen Liliuokalani and requested annexation by the U.S. President Grover Cleveland knew the native Hawaiians opposed annexation, so he didn't pursue it. It was just, at the time, he wanted to kind of maintain peace, the old United States view of isolationism. However, 5 years later, the Spanish-American War convinced imperialists that Hawaii was needed since it would serve as a mid-Pacific supply base for the Navy and merchant vessels. If you look at a map of Hawaii, you can see its location and how much of a strategical base that could serve for any country, let alone the United States. In 1898, President William McKinley and Congress approved the annexation. So I suggest that we go back to our learning targets right now, and I would like you to read them. Take some notes if you are confused on anything that we discussed in the slideshow, because tomorrow in class we will be able to discuss those issues and work together as a class to solve some of the common problems we're having. Thank you for watching the slideshow, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.